Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today I am going to be reviewing Mouse Guard Winter 1152. This is by David Petersen and this is a graphic novel. So I actually read the first book in this series because this is book 2, the first book being Fall 1152, a couple of years ago, and I really enjoyed it, but I just never got to book 2. So I decided to take this time to continue the series. I reread book 1, won't be re-reviewing it because the review is on my channel, and now I'm reviewing book 2 in this fantastic, fun, and at least for volume 1, award-winning series. So this is again book 2 in the Mouse Guard series, and the premise of this series is that mice have their own society. So animals are sentient and they have their own societies, and mice are kind of at the bottom. We think of mice as little helpless prey creatures even in today's society, and that's basically what they are. So they've developed this society of fortified strongholds to stay safe and live in places like trees and carved areas, and they have this long rich history that's kind of alluded to in these books. The mice are doing their best to live in these little societies, and they have a complex government structure, and there are these individuals called guards. So these are the military, the guards in your fantasy series, who are in charge of defense and protection and keeping everybody safe. In Fall 1152, the first book in this series, there was actually a traitorous uprising in which some people felt like they were not being treated fairly. An individual, a traitor, turned on Mouse Society and had some mice following him, and he took up the name Black Axe, which was a mythical figure from Mice Society. And this uprising was thwarted by the Mouse Guards, able to stop this uprising and kill the traitor. However, the traitor did expose some faults in Mouse Society, and the leaders are trying to get together and strengthen their ties to one another, their ties from different cities, to really come together and build a stronger society, because the fact that there were that many people discontent with Mouse Society to follow a leader shows that there's probably some cracks in the underlying foundation of society. We mainly followed the guard mice, who are really the star of the series, as they go from town to town trying to get supplies and also deal with a bigger crisis, or a more immediate crisis, which is the winter. So it is winter as advertised on the cover. It is a hard winter and there's a low level of supplies. There's also an increase, or not an increase, but there are still people who are not content with society, who are kind of undermining these efforts from within and still acting in a traitorous manner by doing things like poisoning wells, for example. So there is still these other elements that are having to be dealt with in the Mouse Society. This book, though, is truly a slice of life, I would consider, sort of graphic novel series, because the focus in these books, despite having main characters and despite having some character development, for example, there's a focus on a mouse guard named Liam who's going through some growth as he's a new guard, finding himself and his identity. Despite those focuses, I felt like the world and the atmosphere is kind of what's more important. That is what's truly carrying the story, is the atmosphere that David Petersen has developed and the world that he's developed. We get a sense that we're just seeing into Mouse Society for this slice of time that has been selected, and the section that the author is choosing to showcase of this Mouse Society, the story that he's telling, is really just an excuse to show off this world and this connection. But I think that the world and the atmosphere is so well done that it is sufficient to carry the story. And I think that's very odd, because normally when you can have a beautiful society world built up, but if you don't have a strong story, you can't carry it along. In this case, the story, I would say, it's not the most compelling story in the world. It just seems kind of like daily life as in Mouse Society, but the world and the atmosphere are so built up and so enjoyable that I wound up reading this entire thing in one sitting and loving it. The art is fantastic. If you can't tell, maybe it doesn't show up, and a lot of this book takes place in tunnels underground, so it's hard to show on camera, but there's fantastic art, which I love. The characters are really lovable and enjoyable, but it really is the setting that I think reels people in. And that setting is what's going to get you to stay, as opposed to necessarily the story. So despite the world and the atmosphere carrying the story, I think the world and the atmosphere are so well done that it is an enjoyable read, despite maybe the story just feeling a little bit more slice of life-ish. For example, if you enjoy slice of life manga, you may enjoy this series because you're used to kind of maybe the storyline or the plot not being super strong, but the world and the setting just being enjoyable and fun to read. Or if you enjoy fantasy graphic novels, that might be another group of people who may enjoy the Mouse Guard series. If you enjoyed fall, be sure to read Fall 1152 first before reading Winter, but if you enjoyed Fall, you may enjoy this Winter one, and I think there's also a third one in the series that I also plan to read because I really enjoyed it. I shouldn't have taken so long to read book 2 because I did enjoy it, and I will try to read book 3 as soon as possible. If you have read this one, Winter 1152, please let me know what your thoughts on this series are. If you think that my book review is off, please let me know, or if you think I missed something important, please let me know. I love to hear from you and all your thoughts and comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.